Professor Daniel Rubinfeld has just given our keynote speech at our scientific seminar for the Florence School of Regulation here at the European University Institute on data standardization. That is an interesting new idea in a sense. Can you explain to us why data standardization is so important? Why you feel that is a new topic is so important?
Sure, it's been a pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much. Standardization means really two things. It means building data systems that are interoperable, so you can sort of combine different data systems. And it also allows them to be portable so that you can move them from one business to the other. And the reason why that's important is because in the world of technology, as it's evolved, data have become very important. And if data is going to be really functional and useful to help business grow and develop, it has to have these characteristics of portability and interoperability that makes it a standard. And different companies operate on the same standard. They're going to be able to communicate more effectively, and you're going to get more commerce.
Yeah, but there is an idea now that big data, the ability to own big data and to analyze this big data is really an element of power in the competition game. Do you think that company will be ready to participate to this standardization effort with the risk to weaken their strength, the historical strength in certain areas? You think that the advantages can be more than the risk for the major companies?
I think the advantages are going to be very significant and are already. And we're seeing companies move towards various forms of standardization. We see it in the airline industry. I think we're going to see it in the growth in telecom to the G5 level. I'm actually concerned that standardization will take us in two directions in Europe and maybe in the US, and we may be back to the world of G3 where we couldn't make phone calls. So there are a lot of issues that are left open. But what I see in other industries, huge benefits from standardization in medical, where doctors sort of convey all the information throughout the network. We're going to see this with automobiles. If we ever go to driverless cars, we better have standardized system. I see it in the airline industry with some of the data that's used by both the companies and the government being on a standardized system. So I think the real issue is what kind of economic power is generated by the standardization, because you develop these economies of scale, of scope, and I would argue even of speed. That is, the ability to get data and get it standardized quickly is a huge benefit. That's going to create issues. That's going to create market power, and it's going to create real issues for our public agencies to think about.
Yeah, well, let's come a moment to the public interest, really, because it's clear that private companies can get some advantages. But do you think that governments, public institutions, regulators can be part of this game, being helped really by standardization, data standardization, to do their job better, to do better policies?
Yes, I think we do. In a way, some of their activities are sort of partly public, partly private, and they can perform value functions. I think of the airline industry, where in the U.S. at least, the Department of Transportation has created various forms of standardization of the kind of data it keeps a record of, and it's utilized by all companies that participate in the U.S. And that standardized data provides improved functionality. But again, what comes along with it is the concern with the government also that it will have another form of market power, and the government itself has to, in a sense, watch itself and make sure that it uses the standardization appropriately.
Yeah, clearly. But also there is worries also about more and more use of data, as you know. For instance, one of the discussion really is about if the personal data are becoming too known to too many subjects. There is this discussion also. Some are saying that consumers that, for instance, using social media, they reveal a lot of their information. They should be rewarded for this. There's this California discussion about paying for data or something like that. And also there is always really calling instead for stopping, for much more control. How do you feel about this?
I haven't quite sorted out in my mind exactly what we'll need to do in terms of regulation or utilizing statutes, but something will probably need to be done. The way I think about it is that once a company has significant data in an area and it's a standardized data system, they have the ability to pivot their work, their market power into vertical related areas and start to take advantage. I think we've seen a little bit of that. Arguably, it's still in the courts with data that Amazon has used to go into some sub-markets or related markets. And we've seen arguments about some of the other companies as well. I don't know enough to know whether these are really problematic, but we're going to see lots of issues. This issue of pivoting into related areas troubles me. That's one concern, because we're going to be talking about the old term of leverage, which was very popular a while ago. I think it's going to come back again, and probably should. And that's one issue. Privacy is important, and we'll have to decide how much of privacy can be handled through the traditional antitrust mechanisms and how much through consumer protection in some countries, or whether we'll need additional statutes. I'm kind of interested in what's happened in the EU with the data protection regime, where if I understand it, individuals are given the chance to opt in or opt out, and the individuals have a choice of how their personal data are utilized. I'm not sure. I think that's an interesting direction to go in. I'm not sure yet whether that's where we need to be. And one of the reasons I'm uncertain about it is we know from studies done of consumer contracting that when people are given choices, they barely read and understand what they're choosing. So the idea that the individuals will actually be informed enough to be the ones that can tell us how to regulate data is not clear to me. We may actually need more enforcement activity. I'm just open-minded about it. I haven't reached a firm opinion, but we need to watch it very carefully.